Good afternoon, evening, morning, everyone, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to Week 8 of the UK and Ireland Radical Race Series here at Oran Park Raceway. An interesting circuit, this one, unfortunately, which I believe it isn't actually here anymore. This was turned into housing estates, but it gets to live on within iRacing.
Yeah, exactly. Beautifully and perfectly preserved on the iRacing service. Laser scanned, of course, so every little bump is there as it would have been back when this circuit was being used. Great to be here, though, isn't it, Dan? It's a wonderful little circuit, this. Has a little bit of a crossover section, which you don't see on too many circuits either. Has its own little bit of excitement. Then that final sector, the S is up and down the hill you go. Really demands a lot from the drivers, but they have the downforce to do that. We can see the cars going around in qualifying at the moment, and we'll be able to see if we can go on board, can we, Dan, for a flying lap?
Let us. That's a very, very good shout. Let us do that indeed. So, I think we're going to go on board as we have a look. Dave Kirkman. Dave Kirkman's been having some cracking races the last couple of times. So, as you say, let us jump on board as he just goes through for the first lap, one of his first flying laps. The main thing about here is commitment. Small little lock up there. That will cost him a bit of time. There's the crossover that just going through now as they go down. Tricky complex this. Slightly off camber. You've got to be careful. You've got to make sure that you don't get on the power too soon. Open up the steering earlier than you think. And then quite opposite with here, you want to be keeping the steering tighter than you initially think. Here comes the crossover. Over the crest. Straight away into a right-hander. As the car settles down, you've got to be careful. This is a very, very tricky complex as well. The high downforce does help here, but Dave Kirkman runs a little bit wide, which will cost him. Coming down into the last corner, it's a very, very short lap, actually. Not coming down into the last corner, but even so, bear in mind, they used to race V8 supercars around here. Imagine that, V8 supercars. It's just absolute insanity. Dave Kirkman goes around the last corner for his first flying lap. Where is it going to put him? Dave Dowson's just gone up into P1 provisionally, but Martin Booker, and that is Dave Kirkman going into P2, only 0.06 of a second. This is the GP circuit, bear in mind, and this is a minute lap. We might even see, I don't know about you, what you're feeling, Ed, but if these are the lap times already, I feel a sub-minute lap could be on the cards.
I reckon we could, yeah, like you mentioned, see a sub-minute lap time, but we'll have a look to find out. This looks like a cleaner lap time, though, from Dave Kirkman as we follow Richard Brown into the first corner. It's so tricky, isn't it? Because you're turning while braking. You've got the kick before and you need to straighten it up in time to stop for the second corner, which is actually the first major braking zone. And the line's looking quite good. You don't want to be running too wide, of course. You can get a couple wheels out into the grass. These cars are so difficult to control in this first sector as well. It's very bumpy. You can see the car having to react to little bits in the tarmac that might not be optimum, but it's still riding it nicely. Just love seeing it dip down through the elevation, down and then over again. Blind corners, and that's one of them that's caught him out there. Just very, very hot in as well, just to get away with that, really, with just a tap onto the barriers. I don't think there's been any damage to that because that was a softer tyre barrier. I think they'll quite another little lock up there on the inside for Paul Crabb. Having a look at the times as well. Dan Webster, like you mentioned, has gone into the sub 1 minute laps, now on provisional pole position, 2 tenths faster. In second position, Paul Crabb.
Indeed, Paul Crabb, P2. Look at the commitment there as well. Fantastic. A small bit of a lockup. That will be costing him some time. But what is it going to be as he goes through, coming out into the last section, the last complex as they go through? I tell you what, these cars work really well around here. Do you know what? I'm pretty sure these cars work around pretty much every single track that we've seen them on. Just something about them that just absolutely works, and it's fantastic to watch. Paul Crabb, does he improve? He's up into P4. I believe he stays in P4. Dominic Lang-Webb, you've just seen go on the timing tower then. Half a second back, not too far. Bear in mind, we're currently on your intervals as well. The entire gaps, as we bring them up here. Simon Edwards, Martin Booker, 0.04 of a second. Then down, Dan Webster, only a tenth. Graham Brown, 2.5 tenths. It's so close between these drivers, as it always has been and it always will be. Oh, just racing. The racing through here is going to be absolutely amazing. Also as well, link in the description to the sponsor. What the UK and Ireland Radical Race Series are also doing as well is they're sponsoring the charity as well, and the charity that they're going to be sponsoring is Live Life. There is a link in the description below. They are trying to raise money for charity as well. It's a really, really good cause, and with what's been happening in the last couple of years, it's something that is definitely needed. So link in the description if you'd like to show your support. Would be absolutely fantastic. Paul Crabb goes through, doesn't improve on that particular lap. Looking through Phil Glover, he is making on his last lap, he's actually got the first and second sector are both in the green for him, so possibly an additional place to be made up. Currently running in P15, but if he can keep... Oh, that's commitment, isn't it, Ed? That is commitment and a half.
Beautiful little section there. You have to go flat out through those S's, trying to keep it nicely balanced. We're seeing that here across the line. What is it going to be? Is there an improvement? No, I think that might have just been a lap, or maybe invalidated somewhere. Probably
it was an improvement, but only a couple of tenths.
Oh, only a couple of tenths, so maybe not quite enough. But I want to touch on another thing you mentioned of how good these cars are around this circuit. They do seem very well suited. I'm really looking forward to seeing these cars around Oran Park. I was having a look thinking, while you were talking, like, do we actually go to Oran Park? Because I'd love to see them here. And we do. It's in 2 weeks' time that we will see them go on the international circuit without the Britain's chicane. So that's basically everything going through Shellower, but not the first chicane, but with the, obviously, the second one. But still, in a week's time, we will actually go to Sebring. So that's the next track up on the schedule. And we'll have a lot of Sebring, won't we? We won't be sick of the sight of it, because the BSR Mazdas are also broadcast here on Absolute Sim Racing will go there. But enough of all of the other series that we broadcast. Let's focus on the here and now. Martina Ward, currently up in the top 10 positions, currently sitting P9, seeing what she can do for what I believe is her final lap in qualifying.
Indeed, yeah, this is lone qualifying, bear in mind there's only 3 laps that happened in this lone qualify, so you've got to make them count. The last lap is always going to be the quickest, because that's when the tyres warm up. Martina Ward going over the crossover. Look how much the car is fighting as she is going through. Manages to keep it nice and tidy though. Coming up, making sure again you're not riding onto the power too soon. Really nicely there as well. Last couple of corners. Is it going to be? Looking at the timing tower, as we can see, a little bit loss of time in the last in that last sector just then. Manages to just go again a tad wide. That will cost another couple of tenths. But is it going to be an improvement? The second and third sector were both improvements. Is it going to be any faster? I don't think it is. Unfortunately not. And that is, well, Richard Brown's just coming across the line. I don't think he'll be making an improvement at the moment, but still only about a tenth of a second away from Chris Kane. So, the top 4, all within 3 or 4 tenths of one another. That is close. That is very close. And they're all within the 59. So, impressive stuff. Graham Brown just slipping in there with that 59.96. So, again, we have seen it before. We will see it again, haven't we? This is going to be an amazing race that we're going to have on our hands here.
Yeah, good qualifying session there. We can see that the margins are relatively thin up in front, aren't they? Martin Booker and Simon Edwards, less than half a tenth of a second separating those two up at the front of the field. Dan Webster down in third, Dorian Brown fourth, but we've got so much to look forward to, don't we? The prospect of an exciting race is really getting me excited here, and I'm certain that you're feeling the same, Dan. It's all about just these drivers trying to maximise it, as we're following, I believe, Paul Clark, who hasn't set a time yet. I think he'll be able to go around for this lap. I think this will be his final, or his one and only qualifying lap. So what can he pull off through the downhill right-hander, then a quick left that gets up to you very quickly down the hill, then try to slow it uphill through the left-hander, not running too wide. I think this is just a banker lap being set by Paul Clark. He wants to be able to get something on the board at least, even if it's not the fastest time. Runs a little bit wide through there, but carries the speed. Not too close to the wall on the exit again, just making sure that he gets a time on the board. And what will Paul Clark be able to manage? It's not coming up for me, so I don't think he was able to get across in time. Unfortunately, that was an outlap, and this has meant he won't have enough time to finish out his qualifying lap, because there's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 seconds to go, and the checkered flag has been waved, so nothing for Paul Clark to do. And with that, I think all of the cars have made their way out of the session, or out of the qualifying session, and now into the race done. I think we can see some of them lining up on the grid. Yes, we can. Martin Booker there on pole position. Simon Edwards alongside him on the front row. Dan Webster just behind in third, out of Graham Brown, who lines up on the fourth grid spot. Paul Crabb there. Fifth position for him. What can he do at the start to try and make up a few positions? You know, he's good in the races, even if his qualifying pace doesn't show it. With Dave Kirkman alongside him, the eyes open for Dave as well. Frankie Dixon, seventh of Dominic Lang-Webb in eighth, the number 8 starting 8. We like that. Then we've got Martina Ward, ninth. Daryl Taylor in 10th, rounding out your top 10 as well. With Phil Glover 11th, Simon Maltby 12th. 13th place, we'll see the number 14 of Dave Dowson in front of Chris Kane in 14th place. Richard Brown 15th, and rounding out the field is Paul Clark. But the lights are coming on now. It's time that run down to perfection. And has Martin Booker got the start down to perfection? You know what? I think he has a cracking getaway off the line for Martin Booker. And into the first quarter, they will go Booker, Edwards, Webster, Crabb, Brown, Kirkman. Look at this, trying to sort themselves out single file. As I say that, there's a bit of a look down the inside. Is there contact? Dave Kirkman and Graham Brown both colliding, both out of this race. They'll be able to get up and running again, but they're really far down the order. Unfortunate stuff there, as we see Martina Ward going for a move on Simon Maltby around the outside, but Simon holds firm down the inside and takes that position back.
Yeah, an interesting start to say the least. We're going to probably see if we can get a replay of that in a little or in a few moments' time. But yeah, it's all kicking off here. Again, this track is so narrow. Even for something like the Radical, it's a very narrow circuit. Almost even to be even narrower than the likes of Oran Park and places like that. It's so tight, so twisty. Frankie Dixon's just had a bit of a spin. You just saw a car go off there. So I wonder if, again, we're going to be able to get another replay of that for you in a little bit. Dave Dowson, though, managing to keep Daryl Taylor at bay for the moment, although for how long? It's all started to settle now. 24 minutes is 24 laps, and to be fair, with the minute the laps they're doing, it is going to be around about 24 minutes that is going to be this race, and it's going to be an intense 24 minutes. I think we can all agree on that. At the moment, though, Dave Dowson has just pulled a little bit of a gap at this moment in time. At the front, though, Martin Booker still maintaining. He's actually pulled a bit more of a gap. 0.7 of a second now between himself and Simon Edwards. All the time that they're extending, better. Dan Webster very close, though, to the back of Simon Edwards. So let's not count Dan Webster out. We've seen the pace that he's got. Very quick indeed. He can put pressure on Simon Edwards a little bit here. That's really going to help him. And it's also really going to help Martin Booker pull away even more.
Yeah, so we'll have a look at this. Martin Booker up at the front of the field. Like you mentioned, trying to build the gap, extend his advantage over Simon Edwards. It's not the easiest circuit to overtake, the main move being into the first corner here, but we could see that was Dave Kirkman's collision there. And I think that was just two drivers fighting for the same bit of time. Like on the opening lap, these things do tend to happen, Dan.
Yeah, they do happen. Very true. It's a bit of a shame if it were to happen. Oh, that's a send. Woohoo! Dave Kirkman, though, you can tell he's definitely got definitely lit a fire under his gearbox, because he is really, that was a lunge and a half.
Good
really,
awareness,
though,
wasn't it, from Chris Kane?
Yeah, absolutely. Really good. I'm just about to say that. You took the words right out of my mouth there, Ed. Very good awareness. Chris Kane knew what it was going to happen, but didn't panic, allowed the car to actually settle on the outside and just maintain the speed, get the traction on the outside and pull the car round. So realistically, I think Chris Kane did pretty much exactly what he was supposed to do, and it paid off ultimately in the end. So Dave Kirkman has to now wait and has to try and make the move again. We know that Kirkman's got pace. The main thing here is the overtaking opportunities. Going into turn 2, that's one of the bigger ones. Dave Kirkman, though, decides against it. Oh! Chris Kane had a bit of a moment. That was a hefty shunt into the wall. You can see the damage on Chris Kane's car on the front left. That's really going to be hurting him now. I wonder what happened there. Could it have been...
Chris was worried about the car behind her.
I was thinking that he was worried about Kirkman.
Kirkman's turning it down the inside, and I mean, that might have been what Dave was planning, just looking down the inside, trying to throw Chris off his line, and we're seeing the mistakes creep in now, maybe the damage as well, having an effect as Christopher Kane drops down through the order and has a meeting with the tyre barriers, unfortunately. And then further in front, we come to this Martin Booker keeping the gap to Simon Edwards, and Simon's going to be looking maybe a little bit more about what's behind rather than what's in front. Lovely camera shot there. You can really get a sense of the elevation change and also the closing pack behind. Look at this, Dan Webster and Paul Crabb getting in there. For a moment it said that Dan Webster getting into the pits. That was how close he was to the wall there. But there doesn't seem to be a way through into the first corner, which is the real main overtaking opportunity. The rest of the lap, it will be single file, you would have to imagine. So it's more about trying to look after the tyres, maybe having an advantage later in the race, or just trying to force your opponent into some mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good point as well that you raised there. You know, you've got to make sure that you're committed, but at the same time, you've got to be safe when being committed. And at places like Oran Park, it's so tricky to make that move stick. We saw just a few moments ago with Dave Kirkman and Chris Kane. I mean, again, if you can just hang the car on the outside and carry that momentum through, you're going to be able to maintain the position. It's all about flowing and the ebbs and flows of this circuit. The elevation change rivals anything, you know, Brands Hatch, Alton Park, places like that. This is probably elevation change similar to that, if not a little bit more. So you've really got to pick your opportunities wisely, and you've got to be close. That's the other key thing as well. When you really look at it, you've got to be within at least a tenth of a second or something. Speaking of a tenth of a second, because Frankie Dixon may want to have a little bit of a look up the inside of Paul Clark. They're going to go side by side going through the last corner. Who is going to get out on top? And do you know what? Frankie Dixon capitalised on how close he was there. And exactly as we said, sent it up the inside. He was close enough, and that's going to help. I wonder, though, is Graham Brown going to have a bit of a look as well? He's going to give it a go. They're going to go side by side through turn one. And Graham Brown, though, up the inside of Paul Clark. Paul Clark suffering a little bit of damage, though. Unfortunately, we have seen that a couple of times. Paul Clark's been unfortunate with damage this season. And we've been saying that more times than I think we would like to. And also more times than Paul would like to be driving with damage as well. But maintaining, hopefully you can maintain some of that pace, because when you lose that rear diffuser, it will hurt you quite significantly.
Yeah, it does. It's not the easiest car to control at the best of the time, so any amount of downforce you lose has a massive effect on your performance as well. Would be illogical, I guess, but yeah, it's so tricky. And on a circuit like Oran Park, which is so heavily reliant on the downforce, you would imagine that most drivers here are running a very high wing setting to take advantage of all of these high speed corners going up and downhill. Well, you want to have the car as planted as possible. You want that downforce, so losing it not really going to be into the driver's plans. However, it's all about who can manage it best. I don't think we're going to be seeing the end of incidents like this in the race. This circuit, because of obviously when it was built back in 2007, there's a few bumps in here and again. Oh, a collision, and is that Dave Kirkman, I think, in the walls once again, this time with Simon Maltby, I think it was.
Absolutely, yes, very true. Yeah, you got it exactly right there. Dave Kirkman having a small collision with Simon Maltby. Let's get a replay of what happened there. So I don't know. I think, to be fair, I mean, the camera angles obviously will show different items. So let's have a quick look at on board from Dave Kirkman's camera perspective. Gets a really good drive, although so does something. I mean, realistically, that was a bit tricky. That was a bit of a tricky one, that was, to be fair. I think different camera angles will pull that at different perspectives, I think, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I think depending on the corner, it's very hard to go for an overtaking. You can see that Simon Maltby broke normally for the corner in line with it, left a bit of space on the inside, maybe could have left more, I'm not sure. I think even if he left like a little bit more space, he might have been able to power it up. At the same point, it was a bit of a lunge from quite far back in Dave Kirkman's case, so I think it's maybe 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. They both contribute to the incident, but unfortunately I think Simon Maltby was hurt a bit more by the contact than, well, you can see what happened, can't you?
As you say, it's you know, it's just one of those things. It is a bit of a shame. Two cars, unfortunately, can't go into one position. Just had a interesting thing that I think Graham Brown has had to come into the pits. I wonder why that is. So actually, Darrell Taylor's also passed Dave Dowson. That's a little bit further down the field. That's for P7. So let's have a replay of that as they go through. So Darrell Taylor, I wonder, just going on the outside, possibly a little bit of a slower exit on the last corner for Dave Dowson, which did cost him a bit of time. So there we are. So Daryl Taylor now up into P7. It's getting closer at the front, though. As we can see, this is Dan Webster. Carries a lot of speed going into the last corner. Wowzer, that was a lot of speed. Oh,
gets
my
close to the wall
goodness.
on the exit as well, but he can't capitalise. I don't think he's got as much straight line speed as his competitors, and also Simon Edwards with more slipstream in front on Martin Booker, which basically nullifies any advantage Dan Webster was to get from the corner. But now he'll follow again. This is a great shot, isn't it? Seeing all the cars up in front, dicing for position, looking for different runs. Later apex being taken there by Simon Edwards really opens out the corner for him. Helps to get a good run, but a massive snap of oversteer there. Dan Webster's going to look for a move, but he can't capitalise because the next corner comes up far too quickly for him to make a move down the inside. But he can sense now, Dan, that Simon, while he is quick, is prone to making a few mistakes, and Dan really needs to be there and thereabouts, right underneath the rear diffuser to snatch an opportunity when it comes.
I think exactly as you said, you can see that Dan Webster's got that little bit more aero, as you say. He's losing time on the straight already through there, but also just how much more confident he is going through, especially the last complex, the really sort of fast, the medium to fast flowing corners of the last sector. You can really see how much more confidence he's got as well, especially with taking these later apexes. I mean, again, it's going to have to be a very, very close line. I mean, Simon Edwards does seem that he's got the out and outright pace at the moment. He's starting to pull away from Dan Webster even after that small little incident, and he is catching up to Martin Booker. So I think as well that Simon Edwards does indeed have the pace. But as you say, just a few little incidents like that can really, really cost. What's going on down here, though? A bit of a ding-dong battle here. Three-way battle going forward. This is for P10. So the first spot. Oh, that was a bit of a lunge. That was a bit too much of a lunge, unfortunately. I wonder who that was. Was that Graham Brown? I think it was.
Dave Kirkman, round 2, I think, potentially. Those two were involved, weren't they, into the first corner on the first lap. So they've both been involved in the wars yet again. We're going to see if there's another replay of that. But what a shame that that fight ended the way it did. We were looking for an exciting battle. This is it, though. Frankie Dixon getting the move down the inside. Perfect lunge through, and then there was a little bit of contact. I think Dave Kirkman went for a move, then was held to the outside. And then, look, you can see in the background. Oh, he actually just loses control. The number 13 dips the wheel onto the grass on turning. And that was how that all happened. Just one mistake there. And that saw them both out. So Graham Brown down in 15th place, currently in the pits. Maybe if the damage is too severe, out of the race. And Dave Kirkman down in 14th place, last of the running field.
Yeah, it's a shame that, like I said, Graham Brown just snagged the rear of the brakes. You just saw that as the car rotated, and it didn't necessarily rotate. It snapped so quickly. Just to show might be a little bit too much rear bias as well, so knocking it front would probably help in that situation. But even so, it's something that happens so fast. It's so difficult to react. Oh, that was someone as well. Who was that? Was that Richard Brown that had a bit of a moment? It was indeed, I believe, Richard Brown, a newcomer to the series. Was doing really well. A solid performance there. Just a small little mistake, possibly getting over the curb, upsetting the balance of the car. But Richard Brown's got some fantastic race pace that we did see. So hopefully going to be carrying that a little bit further. Martina Ward defending heavily from Frankie Dixon, but Frankie Dixon tries to go up the inside. That was a brave lunge. It was a bit lastminute.com, but managed actually to maintain well. Martina Ward naturally taking the inside. That's going to force Frankie Dixon round the outside, but he's going to give it a go. And you know what? That's move done and dusted. Good move there from Frankie Dixon. That was fantastic stuff. Martina Ward, though, again, very good, giving it just about enough space. No more, no less. So, again, good racecraft as well. That's what we like to see. Good racecraft, clean, consistent, fair racing. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Let's see if we can get a replay of what happened to Richard Brown, because I'm intrigued. I wonder if it was a possible lock, possible wheel on the grass, maybe, or just maybe a bit too much. No, just lost it on curb. Interesting.
Yeah, it's so easy to do though, isn't it? If you lose that little bit of rear grip, the car can snap so quickly. And look, there's a mistake here from Frankie Dixon. Did he just overcook it perhaps into the final corner? Because Martina Ward finds herself now back up into 9th place. And Frankie Dixon could see himself losing out to 10th. Look at this, down the inside goes Paul Clark. There's a battle, wheel-to-wheel action here. You can see that Frankie Dixon is trying to hold on. He's going to try and... Well, I thought he was going to try and lunge it, but no, has to back out. And now finds a step behind Paul Clark, but good pace being shown by Paul. Obviously, wasn't able to take too much part in qualifying, and then himself down at the back of the field. A little bit of damage as well on the rear. You can see during this shot on board of Frankie Dixon that rear end of the car has been bunched up a little bit, maybe some contacts up the rear from other cars into heavy braking zones, but now Frankie Dixon has got the bit between his teeth. He's trying to find a way through. Look at this though, I love this bit. You can just see how committed the drivers are into that penultimate section. Then the final corner here, getting a late apex. Frankie Dixon really opens out the exit onto the power nice area, getting in the slipstream. We're going to be on board this time for a move. Which way is he going to go? Inside, outside, opts to go to the inside this time. Then through turn 2, you'd imagine he'll get that position. Yes, he does. Paul Clark having to back out and try and save pace a little bit to stay in 11th place, because Simon Motley and Dave Kirkman are right there with him now.
Absolutely, there is some commitment. Frankie Dixon absolutely committed. Maximum commitment, maximum effort. Nothing, nothing less than that. Up the front of the field, though, it's getting ever closer. It's even Stevens by about 2/10 apiece between Martin Booker, Simon Edwards, and Dan Webster. Only 8 laps to go now. I'll tell you what, these laps go so fast. It's absolutely fantastic stuff. It's just how quick. I'd love more laps as well, and we are actually hopefully going to be changing and extending these races a little bit more moving forward. Which is great because we get to observe some more racing. It's nothing confirmed yet, but that's what we're potentially looking to do, which will be absolutely fantastic stuff. Martin Booker, though, still maintaining that pace at the moment. The gap sort of ebbs and flows between around about half a second and then 2/10. It depends on part of the circuit, I think, as well, actually. It seems that Martin Booker seems to be a little bit more... He's just got a little bit more pace in the first half, and then just tends to drop off a little bit in the second. I mean, I could be completely wrong, and I may very well be. You can see as well that SCK reckons that they are all going into the bits every single lap.
Because they have to run so wide out of the final corner, don't they, to maximise down the long, flat-out, straight-line section across the start-finish line. So drivers really are using all of the circuit and a little bit of the pit entry as well, but they're entitled to do so, of course. iRacing doesn't penalise it. It's just time software that gets a little bit confused at times. And well, I'll touch on the thing you mentioned of longer races. I wouldn't mind if we went for a format similar to the VRS Enduro, not VRS Enduro, it's the VRS Sprint Series, where it's, I think, a 45-minute race, sort of limited tank of fuel, so there's a mandatory pit stop required. I reckon that could add a little bit of excitement into the races. I remember the, the opening round, or not the opening round, but the media day that we had, where it was at Daytona. I think there was mandatory pit stops there.
Yes, absolutely. And you say, it will spice things up. It really will spice things up. Putting that little bit of sort of pit stop in there, and it just adds something to it. Adds a bit of an extra flavour. At the moment, though, Martin Booker still leading this race with Simon Edwards in P2, Dan Webster in P3. I wonder if Dan Webster's just buying his time. He knows that he's got pace, and to be fair, so does Simon Edwards. I just think, though, if Dan can just keep pressuring the back of Simon Edwards, if a move comes up or a possible position, there's going to be absolutely nothing in between. That's going to 100% be a move here. What's going to happen further down the field? There's Simon Motley versus Paul Clark. As they go through, Paul Clark's makes someone go around the outside. Dave Kirkman, though, decides to send it up the inside. What a move through there. Although he's going to be on the outside and he has got damage. That's going to be costing him. Oh, big moment there from Dave Kirkman. Manages to keep it going roughly in a straight line. Only just goes off the line by a fraction. Although that has cost him around 5 seconds. So, unfortunately, I don't think he'll be catching up with Simon Motley anytime soon. Not the... I'm sure this will be a race that Dave Kirkman will want to forget. But ultimately, though, I mean, the pace that Dave Kirkman's got, he is really, really... The aggressive driving seems to suit his driving style. And it also really actually seems to suit the car, surprisingly enough.
What I noticed as well in that incident is Dave Kirkman locked the rears up first, then realised that the car was going to snap on him, unlocked all 4 up, so he kept his trajectory and didn't spin out and avoided obviously contacting the cars around him. So that was good, smart driving, but we did just see an incident here coming into the final corner. And
no.
it was Frankie Dixon, I think, just misjudging the exit speed of Martina Ward and also misjudging the length of his car, unfortunately. Martina Ward, through no fault of her own, well, she's down in last place now as a result. So we're going to see a replay of this here. Martina Ward very, very wide on the exit, but there's, she's not doing that on purpose, and it's just one of these things, isn't it? When you carry that much speed through those flat out sections, it's hard to back out. It's difficult as well for Frankie Dixon to get onto the brakes there because, well, the car's just going to snap on him.
Yeah, this is true. You've always got to weigh up the pros and cons. I mean, realistically, if there were to be a steward's inquiry for that, for example, then they may look at it in possibly the fashion of, I'll tell you what, I'm going to interrupt myself here because Dan Webster, this is the closest he's been to Simon Edwards all race long, and he needs to try and capitalise on it. 4 laps left to go. He's got the confidence. He's got the additional downforce going through. Is it going to be here? Is it going to be there? Oh, how much do we want? Dan Webster taking just about enough. That was the closest he's been. This is good. This is going to give him some confidence. It's also not really going to be helping Simon Edwards. It's going to be really helping Martin Booker because the gap is now extended to 0.7 of a second with 3 laps to go. Exactly what Martin Booker wanted. And I wonder how Dan Webster is going to be. That must have given him some confidence. That absolutely must have done. And that could very well be, if he gets close enough again, I think a move could be on the cards.
I think you're right there, and Dan Webster is going to want Simon Edwards to drop back from Martin Booker as much as possible because Simon Edwards gets that extra bit of slipstream from the car in front down the start-finish straight, which, like we said, only makes matters worse for Dan Webster and his downforce situation. Having more than the cars around him means that while he's quicker through the corners, he isn't fast enough down the straights to really take advantage, and now he is dropping back. I think maybe that was a bit of a scruffy mid-sector by Simon Edwards, and I think he's got his act together because look at this, he's picking the pace up, closing the margin down to the leader now under 0.6 of a second. And actually, I think Simon Edwards, look how quickly he closes down to the car in front. It's all about where they make the lap time. Martin Booker and Dan Webster opting for a slightly higher downforce setup, whereas Simon, in the middle of these two, is running the sort of, I guess, less downforce just to account for the straight line speed, more racing setup rather than a pure hot lapping setup, and it's seemingly working out for him because he's able to hold on to second place. I'm not sure though if that's going to be what he's going to settle for, because if he can keep this gap where it is, maybe at the end Simon Edwards could line up a move on Martin Booker, and that could be the battle we should watch out for. If he's, say, within 3 or 4 tenths of a second out of that final corner, Simon Edwards could really challenge for the lead here.
Well, I think Simon Edwards could also challenge, but Dan Webster as well. If both Edwards and Booker start battling, I mean, there's no reason to say that Dan Webster's just not going to capitalise on the opportunity and say, thank you very much, need no second invitation. We're just going to have to see 2 more laps to go. This is going to be very close indeed. It's going to be action-packed. That is all we know. We have absolutely no idea what the outcome is going to be. It's too close to call at the moment. 2 more laps to go. And then we will be finding out. Oh, Dan Webster, bit of a formal slide then. Just about. I tell you what, you can't really get any more in terms of utilising the grip than that. That is as much as the tyres will go. They will not give you any more than that. This is where Dan Webster can just get into his zone. This is where he can get into his groove through here. You see again, just through there. Does lose a bit of downforce though because he's behind not 1 but 2 radicals. It will be hurting him slightly, although not too much. He's close. He's so close. But then as soon as we get to any straight, Simon Edwards just manages to go away. That was very late on the brakes there. Might be too late. Oh no, Dan Webster's had a moment. Oh my goodness, Dan Webster just got on the brakes that little bit too much.
Oh dear.
And unfortunately, last lap, and I think Dan Webster will have to settle for 3rd place. Such a shame though, because that was absolutely fantastic driving from Dan Webster.
It's not going to harm his finishing position, but it does seal it for him. Unfortunately, Dan Webster not able to get the run on Simon Edwards and makes that mistake just far too late on the brakes, turning in too much mustard, and obviously getting that oversteer moment through the final corner means that he drops back 6 seconds to the cars in front. but with plenty of advantage to those behind. I think their place is where we'll see him finish. In the meantime, let's go up to these front two. Martin Booker looking back all race long, but keeping his eyes still firmly in front, firmly fixed on the prize, on the task at hand. They'll come through the final corner now for the final time this evening at Oran Park, and Martin Booker will take the checkered flag and win the race here. Round 8 at Oran Park, going the way of Martin Booker. Cracking drive there as well from Simon Edwards, keeping him honest all race long, but wasn't able to get that finishing touch on Martin Booker. Come the end, he'll finish in a very good second place. Dan Webster, of course, completing your podium there in third place. Look at these two as well, close across the line. It will be Phil Glover ahead of Daryl Taylor. And then another couple of cars close together. Frankie Dixon looking for a move. Is there one on the cards against Paul Clark? It might be close. Has Frankie Dixon got the run out of the corner? He looks to go to the inside. It will be a drag race up to the line, but it will go the way of Paul Clark. Simon Maltby as well was relatively close. If there was one more lap on the cards, Frankie Dixon might have seen himself up into P9, but, well, you race for the amount of laps you've got to go through, and that was what we saw from Paul Clark, the race management. As Martina Ward, bitterly disappointing for her. She was up there racing in the top 9, top 10 positions, but one moment in the races really had a big effect, and she's down in 14th place. Non-finishers, you can see down there, Graham Brown and Christopher Kane. The incident's proving too costly for them, and they couldn't get their cars repaired and back out onto the circuit. Dan, there you go. Confirmation of your finishing order. As we've already run down, we can run it through quicker once more. That was on your screen. Martin Booker takes the race victory ahead of Simon Edwards, with Dan Webster completing your podium. Paul Crabb down in 4th place, just didn't seem to have the pace of the lead trio. Dominic Langweb 5th, Phil Glover 6th, Daryl Taylor in 7th place ahead of Dave Dowson, Paul Clark and Frankie Dixon 8th, 9th and 10th. Simon Maltby coming through for 11th place ahead of Dave Kirkman, Richard Brown and Martina Ward, last of the drivers to greet the checkered flag, with other drivers not finishing the race. See Graham Brown and Christopher Kane finishing several laps down. Dan, gonna wait a little while to see if there are any drivers coming through for an interview. Of course, it's a little later of a start than we'd planned, so of course we might not see so many faces jumping into the comments. We'll leave them a little bit of time just in case.
Yeah, absolutely. Fair play to Martin Booker. Really, really good stuff. Had pressure from Simon Edwards all the way through the race. Had pressure from Dan Webster all the way through the race as well. So, a very, very well fought race. As you say, bittersweet race there for Martina Ward. I think an absolutely fantastic race up in P9. Just that small little incident with the small little incident, I believe, with Frankie Dixon. And unfortunately, just getting tapped going into the last corner caused the car to push on a little bit. And unfortunately, that was that. So, big shame, but at the same time, some positives to take away from it. The pace has been improving every single round. We're seeing that as well. Really great racing again from everyone. Stuff that really, really enjoyable, and this is why we enjoy watching. It's why we enjoy watching the Radicals. It's a fantastic series to watch, and I believe actually we've got a couple of people that we can have a chat to.
Yes, we do. So let's bring in one of the podium finishing drivers, Dan Webster, who joins us in the car drops. Good to have a chat with you, Dan. And it was a very exciting race, but you just couldn't quite close into those two in front. Hello, Dan. Can you hear us? I don't think we can hear you. Your mic isn't picking up on Discord. Oh dear, so it doesn't seem that we can hear Dan Webster, unfortunately, so we can't have a word with our P3 driver. We'll bring him out and have a word to Martin Booker, and hopefully Dan will be able to have a chat to you in a little bit. Love that. Now let's bring in Martin Booker. And Martin, can you hear us?
I can indeed. Hello.
Good stuff, Martin. That was a cracking race from you. Kept honest all the way through by Simon Edwards and Dan Webster. but at the
Oh.
end, you were just able to stay out in front.
I know, mate. I said to Simon, because he had a really low downforce setup, and I said I was really hoping he was going to start fading towards the end, but he just kept on it. I was desperately trying to break the draft, but every time I did, I started sort of losing the car a little bit. But yeah, as you say, kept me honest all the way through.
What does that do to you as you're driving, having the drivers that close behind you, not giving you any chance to rest? Surely that gets the heart rate pumping.
Oh, it certainly does that. Yeah, I think I've lost about a stone in weight just through sweat as well tonight.
Oh, it's like
Probably
you're
too
in
much
Australia
information,
yourself, sweating your nads off, but a cracking race
Yeah.
from you. And I just want to know, was this a circuit that you were excited to come to, Oran Park? I know it's not a circuit that's often raced on iRacing.
Well, I must admit, when I saw it come up on the schedule, I thought there's no way the Radical's going to work around here. I've raced in the Skippy loads of times and love the track. I just didn't think it would work at all in the Radical, but Sonoma worked, much to my surprise, and this was the same. It was a brilliant little track.
Yeah, and we go to a track that we think, oh, maybe the Radicals wouldn't have worked at, to a circuit that I think we could all imagine would be very good for the Radicals down in Sebring. Is that a circuit you're looking forward to, mate?
Yeah, I normally go quite well at Sebring, as long as the bumps don't throw me off. But yeah, I normally go quite well there. But yeah, I get the feeling it might be situation normal again next week with me watching Simon and Dan and John, etc., disappearing off into the distance.
It's going to be tricky from a setup point of view, is it? Because you've got to have the downforce through the corners, but also those long straights. You'll want to have it trimmed back as much as possible. We'll hope that you'll be able to get to grips with it as you've got to grips with this Oran Park circuit, mate.
Thank you.
Before we say goodbye to you, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to here on Absolute Sim Racing?
It's a shout out to Chris for putting all this together, because he does a brilliant job, works very hard. Shout out to Dave's mum, and yeah, that's it.
Cracking stuff. I'm sure Dave's mum will be very happy to hear that from you.
Thanks, guys.
And with that, Dan Martin Booker makes his way out of the commentary box, and shall we bring in second place Simon Overs to have a word with yourself?
Absolutely, let us do indeed. Also, as well, we'll be able to bring Dan Webster in as well, because his mic is back and ready to go. But Mr. Simon Edwards, Simon, can you hear us?
I can hear you, yes, and hopefully my mic's working.
We can indeed hear you loud and clear. Firstly, congratulations on P2. I can imagine not necessarily the position that you would have wanted, but at the same time, though, a position that I wouldn't be complaining about, to be fair. Very, very good stuff. And with the low downforce set, it was really enjoyable to see the differences within the course of the lap. What was the strategy choice behind the slightly lower downforce?
The strategy was to get pole, and then nobody could get near me. And I failed to do that bit, so I was dependent on a mistake from Martin to be able to get past him, really, because there was two key corners I couldn't get close, and the last one was one of them. So unless I was within half a car length, my low downforce didn't make any difference, really. Other than I just easily pulled back up to the back of him. But I started eating my tyres about halfway through the race, so I was having to manage that a bit just because I was so close.
Right, gotcha. Yeah, because how difficult is it when you're going through that sort of second half of the race, your tyres start to drop off? Did it make a difference when you've got when you've got cars ahead of you? How much drop off do you find in aero?
Around this track, when you're behind somebody, you haven't got a big wash effect, or certainly I didn't on my very tail-happy setup. But it does. It was eating my rear tyres on traction, so because I was having to slightly overslow for the corners, so I was wellying it a bit more than I would have done if I was doing a lone lap. So I was eating my rear left tyre specifically.
Right, gotcha. But again, it's great. I love this insight. Absolutely love this insight. Well, Simon, again, congratulations on P2. Before we round up, though, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
I'd like to give a shout out to Chris Kane. I know he's doing some preparation for next season and fundraising and so forth. So I hope everybody will contribute to that. And again, I'm going to give you a shout out to you, and of course Martin, because that was a brilliant race. He didn't make a mistake, or nothing sufficient to warrant any of that getting anywhere near him. So he did a perfect race, and he needed one. He's had the pace, but he's just not put the race together recently. So I'm glad for him.
Absolutely. No, absolutely fantastic stuff indeed. Well, Simon, good to catch up. Always a pleasure, and we look forward to catching up with you next week.
Yes, me too. Thank you.
Simon Edwards, P2 for round 8 and week 8 here. Ed, I believe we've actually got, so we'll have a very quick chat with Dan Webster and also Phil Glover as well, who loves to come in for a chat. It's always good to catch up with Phil as well. So yeah, we'll have a quick chat. I'm interested to see from Dan Webster's perspective, and then I'll be wrapping up the stream for us today.
Yeah, so Dan Webster joins us in the comment box, and Dan, hopefully you can hear us now and we can hear you.
I can hear you, yeah.
Good, and we can hear you. What I want to ask you about is how tricky it was trying to close up to those in front when obviously we saw Simon Edwards had that less amount of downforce. What was your game plan going through that race?
To be honest, didn't really have a plan. Just thought I'd see what happens, because I felt like I was a bit off the pace around there. And I realised pretty quickly that Simon had a lower downforce setup than me, so he was much quicker down the start-finish straight, which was probably the only chance I'd have had to pass him, unless he made a mistake, which he didn't, and Martin didn't either. So I was having a fairly comfortable race behind them until I almost rear-ended Simon, so I had to spin myself to avoid him right at the end.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a moment there. I didn't know if that was maybe you just taking too much enough, it was evasive action. Well, at least it didn't have too much of an effect on your race in the end. The advantage that the three of you had built over the course of that race was something fierce, wasn't it? Was it just about trying to work together, build the gap, and then think about fighting, or was it just never there to fight at the end?
Yeah, I don't think it was ever going to be a fight, to be honest. I mean, Martin was so quick and so consistent, didn't make any mistakes, and obviously Simon the same, right on his tail. So I could stay behind them quite comfortably, but there was no chance I was going to get past. But it was a surprisingly entertaining race, actually, following those pair.
Yeah, it was an entertaining race from our perspective as well. We were often going on board with you and watching the race up in front and watching you as well, trying to get through. It was really exciting, and we of course come to Sebring in a week's time. Do you reckon you can maybe get the measure of Martin Booker and Simon Edwards next time?
I'll try. I always
You'll try. Well, we'd love to hear that. Hopefully we'll see you up there fighting yet again for the podium positions, Dan. Great to have a word with you. Before we bid you goodbye, though, and let you get practicing for next week's racing, is there anybody you want to shout at here on Absolute Sim Racing?
Just all the guys in the league again. They make it what it is, to be honest. Since I've been racing in this league, I haven't touched any official races. It's just so good, and the people in it are so good. So yeah, shout out to all of them.
Definitely. The sense of community on this series is absolutely marvellous, and we're definitely glad to be a part of it here on Absolute Sim Racing. We're glad that you're glad to be a part of it as well, Dan.
Superb, thank you.
So with that, we can bid goodbye to Dan Webster and then bring in Phil Glover for a word with you, Dan.
Absolutely, indeed. So, I believe we do have Phil. Can you hear us?
Hopefully, you can hear me for a change.
We can indeed. We can hear you loud and clear. So, I mean, P6 overall. That was an interesting race from yourself, Phil. What was that like from the driving seat?
I was just talking to the guys, just saying what a great track. It really makes the car feel alive. Now, I know it's not a great track for overtaking, but in my case, I didn't really have to do an awful lot of overtaking. But it just the engine pitch as you're going over bumps, and there's plenty going on. There's no time to rest. So I've thoroughly enjoyed that. and it was nice not to be at the back for a change.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I said really some really, really good pace. I mean, that P6 as well, it was definitely deserving on out and out right pace. I mean, realistically, best lap was, the 1 minute .48, and your last lap was a 1 minute 01. So only within half a second, so it shows consistency as well, which is always nice to have. I mean, yeah, realistically, definitely would be very, very chuffed with yourself on that, and I imagine that's giving you some confidence going through into the next race as well.
Yeah, it really does help, doesn't it? It gives you that little bit of confidence to push on a bit, and especially, although I have to say, I just naturally felt the track was, suited me. But although it's a free track, I only kind of practiced yesterday and then today. So, thoroughly chuffed with that, really.
Good. No, absolutely. Well, again, fantastic to be able to see you up the field. Like I said, well within the top 10, almost in the top 5. And I mean, Phil, hopefully we're going to be able to catch up with you again in similar circumstances next week. But before we do let you go, though, anyone else to give a shout out to?
Well, apart from my mum, as everybody would say on the podium. It has to be Chris Kane, and you guys, because you make it. Chris organises all this, and it's a tireless task, but he does it in such good spirit. And then it's really great to have fantastic commentary on this, because it just makes it more interesting and accessible to people that have never experienced sim racing before. So, well done.
No problem at all. Well, thank you very much for the kind words there, Phil. Really appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, look forward to it, guys. Take care.
Phil Glover there. P6 overall. Great racing from him, though, and some really good confidence boost, I think. That's really going to help him going into next week. Ed, we have to wrap up, unfortunately, as much as we would love to continue talking and discussing racing. It's getting a bit late for us now. It's time for bed. I mean, Oran Park, that's a cracking, with these cars, absolutely, what an incredible combination.
Yeah, a track that demanded a lot from the drivers and their setups, trying to get the optimal run, and it was, in the end, a race victory going the way of Martin Booker. Simon just wasn't able to capitalise, was he? As soon as you start behind and you're not able to get through, it's a tall task. And then Dan Webster, close at the end, but that little slide through the final corner sealed his third position. But what a round. I cannot wait until we go to Sebring, Dan.
Same here. Sebring is going to be, I think the word is going to be interesting. It's definitely going to be a circuit that will require some definite fettling of the setups. You've got to make sure that it's not going to be too stiff. Those bumps at Sebring can really, really disrupt the car's balance, especially with the car that's already quite stiff, such as the Radical. But enough speculation. We will have to wait until next week before we are able to actually find out and see what happened. Thank you everyone for watching. As always, it's a pleasure to have you on board with us. If you haven't already, please make sure you do like, subscribe, and let us know any feedback you've got for the broadcast. Always good to have you on board. And as well, remember, Live Life, the sponsor that the UK&I Radical Race Series are sponsoring. Link in the description below if you would like to donate. It's a fantastic cause around situating around mental health, and again, with what's happened in the last 2 years, I think it's something that everyone needs. But as always, everyone, until next time, take care, stay safe.